Okay, so fast prayer and getting into the flow. For me, that's the ideal is to with the way I'm teaching fast prayer is to get to the flow states with fast prayer, which is a very auspicious and good sign. So just to recap, fast prayer, it's essentially the intention behind fast prayer as I teach it is for enlightenment, the highest level of enlightenment, to delete all blocks and to try and do it as Hawkins said, critical point analysis. Don't go for the branches, go right for the roots of the ego. And the roots of the ego, just to repeat, are my addiction to thinking. I surrender to God my addiction to thinking. I pray to God for forgiveness, transcendence, and miracles. And I surrender to God my addiction to the body or my identification with the body. And I pray to God for forgiveness, transcendence, and miracles. Those are the two core ones. And even those for hours on end, the whole day, I'd strongly recommend. And um, I think the ego, with those two prayers alone, will be, depending on how many hours and how devoted one is to practice, will either take one all the way or severely delete the ego. As if you don't think, and the fast prayers, you catch yourself. If you start to wander into distracting thoughts, the aim is to catch yourself and come back to the fast prayer as quickly as possible so that the fast prayer practice is non-stop and one is not daydreaming or going into distracting thoughts. So as one goes, one catches the thoughts quicker and quicker. And eventually, the idea is to get to flow states and to bliss states and to God consciousness. So in the beginning, one will usually find one is tracking time. So it's like, oh, it's already 10 minutes and I've only done 10 minutes and I want to do 6 hours today. So that seems like I want to do this prayer for 2 hours. I'm often doing different prayers for about 2 hours in length. So is that only 10 minutes if I'm tracking time on a bad day? I got another hour and 50 minutes. So then time goes very slowly. One is not in a flow state. One is kind of an irritated state, praying, hoping to finish it and hoping it'll be over. So that's not a good sign. It's a sign the ego's, resisting quite effectively against the fast prayer. So on a good day, one starts praying, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to do this prayer for 2 hours, and then suddenly it's like the alarm's gone off, and that's 2 hours in that prayer. The next prayer to start now, and there's a great feeling of joy. It's like one wasn't thinking or distracting or going into distracting thoughts and one felt really sort of connected and a kind of inner joy. Eventually, one can get to a form of inner bliss doing fast prayer. It's like one is not tracking the fast prayer. So that for me, when you get to flow, is a very advanced state where the idea of an individual I doing the prayer disappears and the prayer happens automatically. So it's almost like God is doing the praying. Your ego is not involved, trying to do the prayer and trying to think about the prayer and trying to do it correctly and trying to track time. All that disappears and the praying happens without noticing it. And then suddenly the 2 hour alarm is gone. And one was really quite happy and content doing it. So that for me is the whole purpose of fast prayer, is getting to a very elevated level and it's really showing signs of great spiritual maturity, in my view, because the ego's, it's almost like one can live without being in thinking, personal thinking, like what's the future, and let me think about me, and let me think about you, and what's going wrong in my life, and all of that has gone for 2 hours, and one is like blissed out, not thinking about the individual drama. So for me, that is a huge dent to the ego, and the idea, of course, is to be able to, my view, and how I'm doing it, is to pray the whole day, non-stop. So you're not giving the ego gas to go into its habitual daydreaming, thinking, controlling, fear thoughts, happy thoughts. future thoughts, any thoughts. So you're blocking by doing fast prayer as a devotion to God, you're blocking the ego's capacity to feed on its addiction, which is thinking, personal thinking, limited thinking, thinking from the limited separate self. So you're denying that. So it's like if you're a food addict or a drug addict, let's say if you're a drug addict, it'd be like denying taking drugs for the whole day. You're not allowed to think, going to your personal story the whole day because you're just allowing the fast prayer to go so rapidly and eventually get into flow states where you're not praying. And then there's a connection to the infinite spiritual states, which is the love of God. The point is that they keep doing the fast prayer, maybe adjust it if certain things come up that are seem to be bothering you, then you can do fast prayer on those. Like if resentment comes up or fear comes up, or a different addiction, suddenly there's a thought of pornography, or there's a thought of donuts, or there's a thought of whatever, the parents, or whatever it is. One can do fast prayer to surrender those. So one doesn't go into the individual story. One is trying to access the love of God. So without a story. So for me, the flow states are very advanced. Then you want to increase. Once you get to the flow states, you want to be in flow states more or less every day for the whole day, doing fast prayer. So that's very, very advanced. And it will mean that the deprivation of the ego being allowed to think about itself, the ego will say, well, I'm thinking all horrible thoughts. So it's good to get rid of the horrible thoughts. But then you'll say, well, I'll think of really happy thoughts for the whole day if you let me think. And then you go, no, not even the happy thoughts. And then the infinite states. So you'll get to states of flow, then you'll get to states of serenity, then you'll get to states of bliss. Then, of course, you'll get to states of ecstasy because the fast prayer is the intention behind it, and the prayers are aligned with the death of the ego, as St. Francis said. It's in dying one is born to eternal life. So we're not giving the ego any time the whole day to think. Because we're just devoted to using the prayers to surrender the core belief systems of the ego, to kill it. And that doesn't sound nice, does it? The ego is the source of suffering. So to kill that aspect in self that creates suffering, to get to the aspect of self, the infinite self, which is everlasting joy, happiness, and peace. So we have to let die that addiction to that which creates suffering. So I'll frame it in that way, otherwise people will get a bit worried there. And so I'm willing to allow the death of that which creates suffering in me so that I can experience eternal love, peace, happiness, and joy forevermore. And with that, let me see who's unmuted. And with that, okay, I'll come back in a while. I'm shooting the video for the time being. And in that, I lost track a bit, but yeah. So once you get to the bliss states, then, you just keep going, not depriving the ego of its personal story and getting to more advanced states. And you're developing the spiritual muscle not to allow thinking in the day. So the practice is not, it becomes, when the flow state is like you're not praying, it's like grace or God is doing the prayers for you, and you start to go into bliss because the prayers are an aim of complete surrender to God. I will not indulge in my personal story ever again until I'm united with my Creator, with the infinite. So I no longer have allegiance to my addiction to my personal story. Just very quickly, I'll try and wrap up quickly because someone's got a question. In the Garden of Eden, one took from the non-dual realm the serpent's offer of good and evil, and now one is in a realm of drama and good and bad, good and evil. So one is denying the oxygen to that story and to those identifications with limitation, thoughts, the body, other bodies. Eventually, this whole world and the drama and the experiencing of it is the addiction to that is also surrendered. And then one returns to the Garden of Eden, to that infinite state of eternal, undying, ever present love and joy and light and power. So flow states, once you can get to flow states longer and longer by doing fast prayer for longer periods during the day, that is the whole idea until you're getting into flow states 24 hours a day, then bliss states, then ecstasy, and then, then hopefully at some point with grace, the death of the ego, the terror of the death of the ego arise. One goes through that. One can do prayers for courage to go through that as well. That's probably another video. And then that's it. It's like one is not stopping like a dog with a bone. It won't stop until the bone is belongs to the dog, and one won't stop one spiritual quest until enlightenment is either like Hawkins did. It's like it doesn't matter if the body dies, one won't let go until one reaches the state. Nothing will stop one. So it's really quite dedicated. Yep. Okay, so let me stop there. Thank you for waiting, everyone. Let me press the stop button. Where's the stop button? Gosh, more. I've lost my stop button on this video. Host companion. Oh yes, here we go.